In today's story, man, we got one of the most infamous drug kingpins that lived. This man don't get talked about a lot. Well, I mean, he did an American Gangster with Denzel, but a lot of people don't know the infamous Frank Lucas. Now I'm gonna need y'all to kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Now that's ecstasy. Y'all don't know nothing about that. The year was 1970 in New York City, and trust me, where there's beauty, there is chaos. Now, one thing about New York in the 70s, shit, they say Harlem was worse than the whole New York. And then, you throw in the Bronx, any type of borough, you know what I'm saying? It really wasn't looking good, especially in the tri-state area. It was a whole bunch of poverty, man. I'm talking a lot of drugs, a lot of heroin, a lot of whatever you want to call it. But a lot of it happened in poverty-stricken neighborhoods. Now, Richie Roberts, he was an attorney, but before that, he was a DA. He ain't like nobody coming through his city talking about they a drug kingpin. But it was so prevalent. I mean, you walk around the corner and that's all you seen. People selling drugs. People buying drugs. And then you got the Dom himself. Well, I was going to say Don, but obviously his name Dom. And I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Anyways, he was a DA too. See, this guy right here, he was in charge of New Jersey. This guy right here, he was in charge of New York. They paths will meet soon, all because of one man. And that one man you ask is none other than Frank Lucas. In 1930, Frank Lucas was born in North Carolina, but all that would change at the age of 17 years old when he would take a Greyhound up to the Big Apple, New York City. When he gets there, he's doing a lot of robbing and a lot of stealing to really just make sure that he good in the streets. And then he runs into the infamous Bumpy Johnson. When Bumpy meets Frank, he automatically looks at him and is like, you know what? You my kind. And he put him up under his wing and taught him everything that he knew. But in 1962, Bumpy Johnson passed. And when he passed, Frank Lucas took everything that he earned in Harlem and made it his own. See, Frank knew how to do it. A lot of it had to do with violence. But one thing Frank did, he had called up his cousins from North Carolina. He told them, I got a position. All y'all got to do is put in the work. It was called the Country Boys. I mean, it fits. North Carolina's country boys. You know how the gang go. He don't get his little almond head ass. When they was sitting down looking at surveillances, a lot of names came up. Bumpy name came up a lot. So in their mind, they said, we got to figure out some type of way to get him. While under investigation, his cousin, Shorty Lucas, had came into play. Now, Shorty was one of those short guys, but he packed a punch, you hear me? So much that if they thought you was snitching or ratting or was an informant, boy, they take you to that Hudson River, and make you tell everything. If not, you going over, you hear me? The crazy thing about it was, even though the DA keep hearing about Frank Lucas, they can't put nothing on that man. The boy was smart now. In comes the year 1972. Now, if you know anything about history, around this time, the Vietnam War came. And when the Vietnam War came, man, those soldiers was on heroin while they was out there fighting the war, bro. Let that sink in. I just had put this in here because it's going to play a valuable part later on. Now, beforehand, the DEA already knew that heroin was coming from Turkey. And then right over there, where it says Corsica, yeah, they was sending the heroin to Corsica, and then they was producing it, and they was shipping it to the USA. But see, Frank Lucas said, no, we don't want to do what everybody else do. We're going to the Golden Triangle. Now, Frank Lucas said, nah, we don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be different. We're going to get our drugs from the Golden Triangle. This is the Golden Triangle right here. But a lot of it really started in Thailand. Bangkok, Thailand. I just wanted to throw that in there. Anyway, look, it all started in Thailand for Bumpy Johnson. But before we get to that part of the story, let's bring in the guy named Anthony. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Those New Yorkers, they do got some unique last names, folks. Now, Anthony had got picked up and he had got sent to prison for maybe like 2 years because they found out that he was smuggling in drugs. And while in prison, he met an informant, a guy by the name of Jimmy. Once again, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. Now, when he meets Jimmy in prison, they're approached by 4 black guys, that try to rough him up. And then Jimmy stuck his neck out for Anthony and he saved him. Anthony look at it like a favor for a favor, right? They get so close, man, in such a little amount of time. Anthony starts trusting Jimmy way too much. Now, y'all know how the dope game go. You can't be trusting everybody, folk. I don't give a damn how long you known them. See, Anthony started telling Jimmy about a guy named Frank Lucas. Whole time, Jimmy wired up. He tell Jimmy, I want you to take out Frank, and I give you 100, you hear me? Man, Anthony trusted Jimmy so much, bro. He even told this man where his stash spot was at, you hear me? Man, it was so crazy, bro. Like, everything happened so fast. And then out of nowhere, boom. They show up. You already know what they coming for. I just had to put Denzel in here, because he really had opened the door for everything. Just when we first had ran into Frank Lucas in American Gangster. That was a good movie, I ain't gonna lie to you. Anyways, Anthony get in the interrogation room. You already know what he started doing. Singing like a bird. I believe I can fly. Yeah, he flying right up out that interrogation room. You hear me? They went and raided this man's apartment and found out all his contacts. The guys that he be giving it to. One name they saw in there? Oh, Frank Lucas. You know what they did next. So why in the midst of Frank getting arrested, his old lady tried to backdoor with the money, you heard me? Police like, nah, go ahead, put that down and come on with me. I'm talking about street dealing money, 20s and 50s. You know how it go. And sad to say, they went on ahead and got old Frank. And while they got Frank and he waiting on trial, something crazy happens that not a lot of people would think would happen. Now let's get back to the Bangkok story real quick. What you need to realize is Frank Lucas had a cousin named Ike who was already over there in Thailand. He had a business partner named Herman Jackson. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, you could say his last name because he black. No, it's because it's easy. I didn't even know the other dude's last name since you talking. Anyway, bro, it was cool for a minute, but they had tried to come back overseas with the heroin and then end up getting popped and they had went to prison. Smugglers. Now, while Bumpy was going on a trial, he had something out there called Blue Diamond. Now, Blue Diamond was killing a lot of people, but his cousin Shorty, Shorty was still pushing that Blue Diamond. And then here we go once again. Somebody snitched. They snitched on him. They started watching him, and they just waited for Shorty to make that drop. Oh, and when he made that drop, boy, they came in like the Tasmanian devil, you hear me? When playing no games. Man, they arrested all the country boys. I think it was at least like 20 of them, you hear me? Everybody getting locked down quick as hell. And you already know the games they play. I'm going to tell you right now, you can get 0 to 30 if you don't start telling. Motherfuckers weren't talking, bro, except one person. His 17-year-old cousin. Sometimes you can't take that pressure, bro, especially at a young age, you hear me? Now, as they sit in court, and Frank knowing like, damn, this might be it. He couldn't do nothing but watch the jury as they say guilty. Because of this woman's testimony right here. She said she found her daughter in the bathroom, laid out on the floor, a needle next to her with Blue Diamond in it. Shh, that's tough as a parent. Now I know what you wonder. Who that white man sitting in the cell with Frank Lucas? I told you Richie was going to come back up, didn't I? Frank told him, look, Richie, if I go down, I'll call you. They gave Frank 30 years in state. But it get worse. Now, who is this, you might ask? Come on, now I told y'all. That's that boy Dom. Now, mind you, Dom was the head of New York, and Richie was the head of New Jersey. Frank just got 30 years in the state of New Jersey, folk. But by the time he was done with him, man, they gave him 40 years in the Fed on top of the 30 in the state. Now, what you think Frank did? Shit, when your hand on your head like this, motherfucker don't know what you gonna do. And Frank started telling on everybody. And when I say everybody, I'm talking about everybody that was in the mob. What you need to realize is Frank was getting his dope from the mob too. What you think the mob was doing? Listen, more of the story is, bro, even gangsters snitch. And this is one of them stories where it's like, damn, can't believe Frank Lucas snitched. Shit. I know I'm just keeping it a bean, dog.